Anybody want a job? There are millions of jobs available, not enough people to take them. Why would anybody want a job right now when they're so incentivized to not work? We got a really bad situation on our hands, all right? A crisis in our stores and in our ports. Have you seen these shelves? If you haven't yet, you will soon. Empty shelves, basic goods, and also, specialty goods, toys, Christmas gifts. This is going to be one bear season. We haven't seen anything like this possibly since World War II. The supply chain issue, it's a really bad thing. We could use some leadership right now. Leadership would be really great. We're not going to get it. All right. Joe Biden is no leader. We know it. I think even he knows it. The fake news knows it, even though they cover up for him. But at least Joe Biden has good people around him, right? Isn't that what they say? Okay, he's not qualified, but there are good people around him. No, there are terrible people around him, like the Secretary of Transportation, who should be playing a key role in fixing this crisis. A couple things about Mayor Pete here. Secretary of Transportation has no background in transportation and has taken the last 2 months off. I'll get to that in a moment. First off, I knew that Pete was a phony. Back when he ran for president, I guess starting in 2019, he went to all those debates. He talked about his military service all the time. A total exaggeration. He never even went to boot camp. He managed to get himself to Afghanistan. John McCain, when he ran for president, barely talked about his 5 years in Vietnam. Buttigieg, next picture, please, served about 5 months in Afghanistan. Again, never went to boot camp. He worked a desk job. A bit of a scam, quite frankly, this little corner of the Naval Reserve. Meanwhile, John McCain, we know what he went through. Buttigieg was bragging. John McCain was humble. So that's when I first noticed him, all right? So in August, he had a child, actually two, twins, with his husband, Chasten. And that's very, very nice, all right? That's just wonderful. Guess what? He's been on paternity leave for 2 months. 2 months. The Secretary of Transportation. We learned this from Politico. Let's take a look here. Quote number one in the story says the secretary has actually been on paid leave since mid-August to spend time with his husband, Chasten, and their 2 newborn babies. Also this, Buttigieg will continue to take some time over the coming weeks to support his husband and take care of his new children. Now, do you think that's nice? Do you think that's, I think it's terrible. I do. That's not what paternity leave is all about, by the way. It's not. But he's taking it, and he's faking it when he showed up at the White House the other day to fix our supply chain issue.
How bad are they going to get for Americans? And I'm talking specifically, leading here into the December holidays where people are relying on getting goods, on getting presents.
Well, I think there's always been 2 kinds of Christmas shoppers. There's the ones who have all their list completed by Halloween, and then there's people like me who show up at the mall on Christmas Eve. If you're in that latter bucket, obviously there's going to be more challenges.
Not funny. Not funny at all. We have a major supply chain issue. He's the Secretary of Transportation. Once he's done with that cutesy joke, now he gets to the substance. And guess what? It's our fault. It's our fault what's happening here.
Should Americans be prepared? Should they know they're not going to get their packages, they're not going to get their goods in time for Christmas if they're not doing it right now?
Well, let me be clear. There is more throughput than there has ever been. In other words, we are processing right now as a country record levels of containers and other goods coming into our ports already. The issue is that there's even more demand than the supply chain can support. Remember, we are relying on supply chains that were built generations ago. It's one of the reasons why this entire year we have been talking about and working on infrastructure and are eager to see Congress act to get this infrastructure deal through.
Okay, remember again, he's been off for 2 months. He just shows up for the big meeting at the White House. Let's see here. It's our fault, the demand, huh? It's our fault. And then he plugs that ridiculous infrastructure bill they've been pushing. What else about that? The infrastructure, by the way, was working okay. The supply chain was working okay until the Biden administration. Look, this guy is unbelievably phony and full of himself and pretends that he knows a lot, but he doesn't care about the details of government. You know who knows that? His former constituents. When he was mayor of South Bend, Indiana, there was a controversial matter with the police department. When are the body cameras turned on? A police shooting. He couldn't take the heat, and he didn't know what he was doing.
I want to know who wrote that individual.
Right. So
Who left the loophole? You're the policy wonk, right? You're the policy expert.
the policy was approved by the Board of Safety.
Who wrote it?
I do not know who drafted it, but I believe that it was drawn from model policies from around the country. And again,
So it was copy and paste, right?
Whoever that was, I love it. Copy and paste, right? Again, he gives off this air of an erudite young man, but he's in it for the wrong reasons, like so many of these people in Washington, D.C. All right, so back to his husband and the kids. All right, again, we love families, and that's great. Twins, very, very beautiful. But 2 months off for both of these guys, by the way. I have a child, you know. She was born on February 3rd, 2020. I'm right next to my wife there. She was not happy about being photographed, so that was February 3rd of 2020. Let me show you a picture of me, actually some video from February 4th of 2020. Yes, I came back to work the next day. Quite frankly, that's what Buttigieg should have done, huh? What do you think? All right, got to show you this. So many people in the Biden administration and in general are totally checked out. You've seen folks, young, old, on the phones, just posing for silly pictures, watching movies all the time. I mean, you don't have to do anything to get much recognition, right? Take a picture, get all kinds of likes and comments, and I feel like that's the situation with the cabinet, with the Biden administration. I kept hearing from Joe, oh, this cabinet, it looks like America, and all that kind of just phony virtue signaling. We were even getting that virtue signaling from the military.
I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it.
Just say the stuff that the left wants to hear, signal your virtue, and you can be in. Don't worry about the work. The work is hard. Nobody wants to do the work. Afghanistan, that horrible defeat. You know what would have helped a lot? Hard work. Hard work. Planning. They did not plan the non-combatant evacuation operation, and they foolishly, mindlessly closed Bagram Airfield. I want to show you something else. General Eisenhower, he later became president. He was possibly the most visible man in America, but back then he wasn't actually in the public all that often. You know what he was? He was in rooms with other officers working all the time. This guy was a workaholic. He was an administrative, he just paid attention, extreme attention to detail, and he was a master of logistics. How do you think we pulled off D-Day? How do you think America pulled off D-Day? By photo ops? No way. It was definitely a different generation. Some used to say it was the greatest generation. I used to not like that, but now, I don't know. Because right now I feel like we're the lost generation. Take a look at our military right now. General Jo Claiborne, there she is. She's in the National Guard up in Minnesota, and she proudly went on active duty the other day, but not before complaining that she had to take off her nail polish. Complaining on social media, complaining to the public. Take a look. Why the Army thinks a French manicure is an obnoxious color compared to the civilian world, which views it as an understated yet professional look, is beyond me. But I have to be in uniform tomorrow, so here we are. It looked nice while it lasted. General Claiborne is muttering and grumbling that she can't wear her preferred nail polish on active duty. And then she engages with a bunch of other people. She starts having this ongoing policy debate, and yeah, you should change that, General. And she's like, yeah, I should. About nail polish. Some conservative commentators have been pointing out, with this kind of attitude, we are going to lose our next major war, and someday we will have one. Not only because of little things like this, but big things that are taking up a lot of time. Look at what the Pentagon's priorities are right now. all kinds of silliness, all right, from climate change to LGBTQ recruitment, trans rights. There are only so many hours in the day, and this stuff that comes under the umbrella of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion training, we have saddled the military with this stuff, and it's a real shame. It really is. By the way, when I was in the military, we grumbled about policy all the time, okay? We did. But we did it, amongst ourselves. We didn't have social media back then, but we weren't writing letters to the editor and all that stuff. We weren't. You handled these things internally. Very, very strange. So, where are we overall? We are without leadership, and that is a very, very bad thing. Very, very troubling. We can't learn anything from Joe Biden, but we can still learn some things, and maybe we will again from Donald Trump. It looks like he is running. But what we need right now, I think, is some drive, some momentum. Do you remember this? Donald Trump gave a speech to the Boy Scouts in Virginia during his first year in office. He was ripped apart for this. Oh, how could he say such a thing to the Boy Scouts? Actually, the message made a lot of sense. It was a hell of a lot more useful than hearing something about, forgive me, Beau Biden. Take a look.
If you love what you do and dedicate yourself to your work, then you will gain momentum. And look, you have to. You need the word momentum. You will gain that momentum. And each success will create another success. The word momentum. I'll tell you a story that's very interesting for me. When I was young, there was a man named William Levitt.
He told this whole story. It lasts about 10 minutes. So William Levitt, who built Levittown, sold the company, did very, very well, made a lot of money, then got the company again. He got bored, and then he took a dive somehow. He lost everything. And Donald Trump follows up with him at a party. Listen to this.
I saw him at a cocktail party. So I went over and talked to him. And I said, Mr. Levitt, I'm Donald Trump. He said, I know. Said, Mr. Levitt, how are you doing? He goes, not well at all. And I knew that, but he said, not well at all. And he explained what was happening and how bad it's been and how hard it's been. And I said, what exactly happened? Why did this happen to you? You're one of the greats ever in our industry. Why did this happen to you? And he said, Donald, I lost my momentum. I lost my momentum. A word you never hear when you're talking about success, when some of these guys that never made 10 cents, they're on television giving you things about how you're going to be successful. And the only thing they ever did was a book and a tape. But I'll tell you, it was very sad, and I never forgot that moment, and I thought about it. And it's exactly true. He lost his momentum, meaning he took this period of time off, long, years, and then when he got back, he didn't have that same momentum. In life, I always tell this to people, you have to know whether or not you continue to have the momentum.
I love it. Fascinating, right? You think Joe Biden knows anything about momentum? Think he could ever in a million years think like that, tell that kind of story? No, because he doesn't know anything like that. You know, that story is another reason why Donald Trump did not fit in the swamp. He knows about momentum. He knows about building things. Joe, he knows how to put together a cabinet that looks like America. Looks like America. Who cares? We're all Americans. I'll be right back.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.